What is up, Broncos fans? Back here again to talk about night 2 of the 2020 NFL Draft, which went down tonight, rounds 2 and 3. Talk about what the Broncos did. Overall, thought we had a pretty solid night. Credit to John Elway and Vic Fangio. I thought we did a really good job, especially on the offensive side of the football, of continuing to improve as a team and really start to kind of build the foundation, if you will, to get back into championship contention, especially on the offensive side of the football. And we had 4 picks in rounds 2 and 3. We didn't trade up, we didn't trade down. We made all 4 selections, kind of let the board fall to us. And overall, again, I thought we did a real solid job. And so getting into these 4 selections that we made tonight, starting with the first pick we made, which was pick 46 in the second round. This was a pick that honestly really kind of shocked me and really surprised me, but boy was I happy to see us make this pick. And at pick 46, we selected wide receiver KJ Hamler out of Penn State, just continuing to add weapons to our offensive unit. You can really tell the Broncos in this draft made picks with the thought of how do we catch up to Kansas City and how can we compete with that team. And now adding Jerry Jeudy to the receiving corps, adding KJ Hamler to an offense that already has Courtland Sutton and Noah Fant with Melvin Gordon and Phillip Lindsay in the backfield. You know, this is one of the best personnel groupings on an offense that I've seen from the Broncos as a Broncos fan in quite some time, and really has a chance to, I think, be a very special offensive unit. And a lot of it's going to come down to Drew Lock. But I tell you what, Drew Lock, you know, whether you're a huge believer in him or not, he now has all the resources and all the tools and weapons to be successful. And adding KJ Hamler here at pick 46 again, I think was just a surprising pick, but a damn good one by John Elway. Really love this pick. KJ Hamler, you look at him once again out of Penn State, 5'9", 178 pounds, had 96 catches for 1,658 yards and 13 touchdowns in 26 games there for the Nittany Lions. This dude's just electric. You're talking about game-breaking speed, and really has the speed to separate deep. I mean, he is another deep ball threat that we add to our offensive unit. And again, with the quarterback that we have in Drew Lock, who has all the arm talent in the world, you best believe KJ Hamler is going to push that arm strength, and that's going to be great to watch. Drew Lock just throwing bombs down the middle to KJ Hamler deep. He's really a guy that I think, especially out of the slot, this is a guy that can really beat opposing defenses deep and make plays for us out of that slot as a wide receiver. And also is a guy that can make plays at every level. And this is a guy who's just electric with the ball in his hands. His yard after catch ability, his yak ability, if you will, is special, man. Again, due to the speed he has. This guy, former track star, and it really shows with the way he plays. Just has elite quickness, elite speed, and really is a guy that just continues to add to the versatility of our offense. And if you're Pat Shurmur right now, you just got to be giddy with excitement in terms of kind of how open the playbook now is for you, given the personnel you have at your disposal. Because as I mentioned in my last video, with us drafting Jerry Jeudy, in drafting Jerry Jeudy, we have an opportunity to, you know, even play Jerry Jeudy in the slot at points, and then line Noah Fant outside with Courtland Sutton at times. Now with us drafting KJ Hamler, you can have all different kinds of sets offensively. You can roll Jeudy in the slot and Fant and Sutton on the outside, but you also can now put KJ Hamler in the slot, and then you have Jeudy and Sutton on the outside with Fant, of course, as kind of that move tight end. And just the way we're going to be able to attack the middle of defenses primarily with Jeudy or Hamler in the slot, and then Noah Fant as well at the tight end position, it's just going to be phenomenal to watch. And there's going to be a lot of things you can do with KJ Hamler as well in terms of gadget plays. You can run him on sweeps, you can run him on reverses, screens. Obviously, he's going to be deadly in the screen game. So is Jerry Jeudy, and I think the way we're going to be able to kill teams in the screen game is going to be something to watch, not only with our running backs as well with Melvin Gordon and Phillip Lindsay, but also Noah Fant on tight end screens. Again, if you're Pat Shurmur, you just have to be loving the amount of options you now have as a play caller. And the other great thing about KJ Hamler is this is a guy that probably day one is going to start for you as a punt returner and a kickoff returner, and was pretty elite returner in college. He averaged 23.5 kickoff yards per return throughout his career at Penn State, and I think last season in the Big Ten was 7th in kickoff return yards per return. So this is a guy that, you know, in drafting him, obviously is this speedy playmaker who could be a deep threat in the slot, but also has some added value in the return game. So I love adding this kid, and it just boggles my mind now that we have a receiving core of Courtland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, KJ Hamler, and Noah Fant. I mean, it's just kind of a dream come true in a way as a Broncos fan, as someone who has been harping on this team to add playmakers to the offense for fucking years now, for it to finally happen in 2020, and to see all this young talent, and to see a quarterback in Drew Lock, who, again, even if you're not the biggest believer in, to see him now have every chance to succeed, it's just a nice change of direction, really, as a Broncos fan, and as someone who has been critical of John Elway and his drafting in the past, and rightfully so. He historically is not a good drafter. You got to give him credit so far with what he's doing, not only in this draft, but the past 2 drafts as well, and really kind of building this offense. And KJ Hamler is just another spectacular weapon to add to our offense. And again, it really kind of shows that we are trying to compete with the Chiefs, and I love seeing that. It might not happen next year, it might not happen in 2 years, but you best believe we now got the horses, if you will, to kind of play the shootout game with anyone from an offensive standpoint. Now, there is a couple things when you look at KJ Hamler that could be negatives. He did tear his ACL in college. I think he was forced to miss a season, and there is some questions about his durability, and a lot of that has to do given his size, again, 5'9", 178 pounds. So that's a little concerning, is obviously you want to see him stay healthy, especially if he's also going to be returning punts and kicks for us. And there is some concerns about his drop rate. I mean, this is a guy that did have quite a bit of drops at Penn State. That's something that's got to clean up. Luckily for him, we have Jerry Jeudy and Courtland Sutton, to where he doesn't have to come in and be the main guy. But you definitely would like to see him clean that up. And he is an average route runner. So hopefully working with a guy like Jerry Jeudy, that can help kind of polish his route running and help him improve in that aspect. So there is a couple negatives with him, but overall, again, you're getting a dynamic playmaker who can be a deep threat in the slot, has electric speed, is electric with the ball in his hands, has great yak ability, and now just opens the playbook tremendously for you as a play caller, again, if you're Pat Shurmur, and also adds some value for you in the return game. So just thrilled to have KJ Hamler part of this offense, and can't wait to see him line up next to Jerry Jeudy, Noah Fant, and Courtland Sutton, and see these guys just run wild on the AFC West in the NFL for hopefully the next decade. Moving on to the next selection the Broncos made. This was in round 3, pick number 77. We drafted defensive back Michael Ojemudia. Sorry if I pronounced that last name wrong, and sorry to Michael if I butchered his last name. But he's a defensive back out of Iowa. This was the one pick of the 4 that we made that I wasn't super thrilled with, and I think this definitely was a bit of a reach here for us. I would like to see us maybe take a linebacker here, maybe even take an offensive tackle in this position, or even another defensive back, because I think Ojemudia is a guy that we easily could have probably waited on to take in the 5th round. So to take him in the 3rd round at pick 77, definitely a bit of a reach, and definitely not a pick that I'm super fond of. But there is some things to like about Michael Ojemudia. He is your typical kind of height, weight, speed guy. Plus he's got great length as well at the cornerback position. 6'1", 200 pounds, has 32.25-inch arms, ran a 4.45 40-yard dash at the combine, has a 36-inch vertical, ran a 6.873 cone drill, and a 4.21 20-yard shuttle, which are very solid numbers, especially that 20-yard shuttle. And again, to run that 4.45 at 6'1", 200 pounds with those long arms. Again, from a physical profile, he has all the tools you would want from a defensive back, and I think his physical profile and his athleticism and his size is kind of the reason we drafted him right here. But again, I thought this was a pretty significant reach, taking a guy at pick 77 in the 3rd round that probably overall is a 5th round talent. Maybe even the latter part of the 4th round you could have took him. So I'm not the biggest fan of this pick. But you look at Ojemudia's production at Iowa, had 6 interceptions and 16 pass deflections in 3 seasons there for the Hawkeyes. But this is a guy, I know John Elway tweeted out that he's a ball hawk and he's a great tackler. This is the kind of pick that you see certain Bronco fans, they just kind of, they rely on everything John Elway says is the Bible and as truth. And this pick was kind of an indictment of that, because I saw people immediately after this pick going, man, we got such a ball hawk and such a great tackler. And again, just because John Elway says it doesn't mean it's true that he's not a ball hawk. It doesn't mean he doesn't have ball skills. It doesn't mean that he can't eventually maybe develop into a ball hawk, but he's not a natural ball hawk, and he doesn't have great instincts in my opinion. But he is a guy, given his size and given his speed, I think he's going to be most effective in press coverage situations. He's not a great tackler like everyone is calling him, but he is a solid tackler, and I think he'll be solid against the run to start. But he really mainly is a developmental corner, and again, he's a guy that I think he could have gotten around later. But he's also a very smart guy, which you gotta love. Again, he's a great locker room guy. This is a guy that went to school, I think, to be an engineer. His dad's an engineer, so you're talking about a high IQ player here. And working with a defensive mind like Vic Fangio, you hope that some of the technical things that are missing from his game improve. He's also a guy that, even though he runs a 4.45, he doesn't necessarily play at that speed. And I think, especially deep, I mean, if you're going to line this kid up against guys like Tyreek Hill, guys like Sammy Watkins, now guys like Henry Ruggs, with Oakland or Keenan Allen, I mean, these guys are going to kill him deep, and he's going to get eaten alive. So this is a guy, probably as a rookie at least, core special teams player. He's a guy that's not going to make an impact immediately, I don't think, and is not going to compete for a starting job immediately. And I hope I'm wrong, and I really hope Michael Ojemudia has a great career here and turns into a Champ Bailey type corner, but I just don't see it. And again, I think this was a pretty significant reach for us. I think it's a guy we could have gotten in the 5th round, and I think there was other positions of need, whether it was linebacker, maybe even offensive tackle, or maybe even taking a different defensive back. That would have been more worth this pick, but nonetheless, excited to have Michael Ojemudia here and hope he can develop over the next 2 to 3 years into a really sound starting corner for our secondary. Moving on to the next selection we made, which was in round 3. Once again, this was pick 83. This might be the best selection of the 4 we made tonight, and maybe my favorite. We drafted center Lloyd Cushenberry out of LSU. This was a phenomenal pick. Unlike Michael Ojemudia, I think Cushenberry is a guy that could have gone in the 2nd round, and to get him at pick 83, I think was just a great value pick by John Elway. And this is a great pick, not only for position of need, but for the value in which of where you got this kid. Lloyd Cushenberry, again out of LSU, 6'3", 312 pounds, has great length at the center position with 34 1/8 inch arms. And this is a guy really plug and play starter day one. He is going to be our starting center from day one. And now to have an interior offensive line with him at center, and at the guard positions now have Dalton Reisner and Graham Glasgow, that's huge, man. Our interior offensive line is massively improved now, and you got to give John Elway credit for kind of solidifying that interior offensive line with signing Glasgow in free agency, drafting Dalton Reisner last year in the 2nd round, and getting Cushenberry here as a steal, I think, at pick 83 in round 3 now. Obviously, our offensive tackles are still a bit of a concern, but our interior offensive line, I think, has the potential to be as good as any in the NFL for the next several years. And a lot of that has to do with us adding Lloyd Cushenberry here. This is a guy who, not just looking at his skill set to start, but talking about off the field, what you're adding an incredible character guy, an incredible leader guy. This is a guy that's just going to come in, do his job. He's going to make everyone around him better. Expect him to be one of our offensive leaders from day one. You're talking about a guy that's durable as hell, started 28 straight games at center at LSU, I believe, is a refined pass protector, great IQ in terms of his recognition of blitzes, stunts, or twists, He's capable in terms of his ability to climb up and get to that next level in the run game, and is a guy that just has a great kind of punch and a great jab at the point of attack. He has really powerful hands, and if he gets a hold of you and gets his hands on you, it's going to be a long night for whatever interior lineman he's going against. And again, I think he's going to really benefit from playing next to a guy like Dalton Risner and even Graham Glasgow, but I think both those guys are really going to benefit from playing next to him. The only real concern with him is he doesn't have the greatest lateral agility, and I think he's going to have some trouble in terms of dealing with long, athletic pass rushers and edge rushers, especially if you see teams try to run stunts or twists on us. But again, he's a guy that has the IQ to recognize that and pass it off to a guy like Dalton Risner or Graham Glasgow. And again, is just really as sound as they come. And again, plug and play starter, day one. These are the kind of guys you want to get in rounds 2 and 3. And I'm just really giddy to have this guy. I think it's a huge addition to our offensive line, which I have been again harping on for years. Has been so trash with the constant band-aids that we've tried to put on it to fix it. Now to have kind of these permanent, solutions, so to say, with Cushenberry at center and Glasgow and Risner at guard, it's great to see. And again, this guy, he's going to help in the run game. He's going to help in the passing game for sure. It's going to be really fun next season to watch Cushenberry work, whether it's in the passing game or in the run game with his hands. Man, again, he's got such a great punch at the point of attack. And it's gonna be fun to see him put some guys in the dirt next season. And again, adding an incredible leader and great locker room presence from day one. So Lloyd Cushenberry, center out of LSU, pick 83, maybe my favorite pick of the night for us, and immediate starter for us, and definitely gonna make an impact and help protect Drew Lock and help Melvin Gordon and Philip Lindsay have an easier time finding some running room next season in the Mile High City. And now to the final selection we made on night 2 of the 2020 NFL Draft. This was with pick number 95 towards the end of the 3rd round. We went with defensive tackle McTelvin Agim out of Arkansas. Like Michael Ojemudia, I wasn't thrilled with this pick given some of the guys on the board. And again, I would have loved to have seen us taking a linebacker, but I'm not as against this pick as I am Ojemudia, because I don't think this pick was as big of a reach as Ojemudia was at pick 77, even though I think even taking McTelvin Agim here at 95, again, this is a guy you probably could have got in the 4th or 5th round. But nonetheless, I think he's a solid addition. He's not going to be an impact player from day one, but he's a good guy to add depth to the defensive line, and is a guy that, working with Vic Fangio and working with our defensive line coach and our defensive linemen, this is a guy that you hope can develop into something special. Looking at McTelvin Agim, again, out of Arkansas, 6'3", 309 pounds. Again, great length, kind of a theme here with the Broncos in this draft, 33.5-inch arms. This is a guy at 309 pounds, ran a 4.98 40-yard dash at the combine and put 225 up on the bench press 27 times. Just ridiculous strength, ridiculous speed for his size. But again, this is a developmental defensive tackle, and you can't really fault him for a lot of the weaknesses that he has at the defensive tackle position, because this is a guy that only played 1 season at defensive tackle during his 4 seasons at Arkansas. He mainly was a defensive end previously, but this is a guy who's a very solid pass rusher, had 31 tackles for loss, 14.5 sacks, and the thing I love the most, 6 forced fumbles during his career at Arkansas, the 4 seasons he was there. Again, at 309 pounds, has a good get-off, is a guy that really has a good spin move, whether it's in pass rushing situations or in the run game to get off blocks. And he's a guy, when he has the quarterback in his sights, in his field of vision, he closes quickly to the quarterback, which you love seeing. But again, there's a lot of technical things that he definitely needs work on. His play strength needs work. This is a guy that, again, put up 225 pounds 27 times on the bench press. I'm not sure at times when you watch him that strength really shows through in his play, so to say. So you'd like to see that kind of improve. And this is a guy that needs improvement in terms of his hand placement. Again, it's these little technical things. His body control as a pass rusher needs improvement, and his overall pass rushing package, again, he's got a great spin move, but outside of that, there's not a whole lot there in terms of his pass rushing arsenal in terms of his move. So those are technical things that you hope a guy like Vic Fangio and again our defensive coaches and just working with guys like Von Miller and Bradley Chubb and some of the Shelby Harris, some of the other guys we have up front can hopefully you know, help him improve in those minor areas. In terms of athleticism and length, this guy has everything you want at the defensive line position, or the defensive tackle position, I should say. But he's definitely a guy that's a developmental prospect and player without question, and is not going to start, I think, at all. Or you know, don't expect this guy to make an impact year one. It's going to take him a couple seasons, I think, to really hopefully develop into something. And to begin his career, at least in his rookie season, this is a guy who I think is mainly going to be a rotational lineman who can play inside or outside, which is kind of a great part of drafting him as well. As he adds depth for you not only at the defensive tackle spot, but again, this is a guy who can also play defensive end, and hopefully will develop with time. And this is another guy in terms of his off the field character, is a great guy, great guy to add to the locker room, and you love seeing that. That is my thoughts on night 2 of the 2020 NFL Draft and what the Broncos were able to do with these 4 selections in drafting wide receiver KJ Hamler out of Penn State, defensive back Michael Ojemudia out of Iowa, center Lloyd Cushenberry out of LSU, and finishing it off with defensive tackle McTelvin Agim out of Arkansas. Leave me a comment below, guys. What did you think of these 4 picks? And of the 4 picks, which is the one that you're most excited for? Please like the video. Please subscribe. I really appreciate it if you watched all the way through. I know my videos are long, but I try to jam-pack these with as much information as I can. And I see tons of videos on YouTube that are hour and a half, 2 hours, some 3 hours long. So my videos aren't too long if you really put it in that context. But really help support the channel, guys. That's it for me, guys. Tomorrow is the last night of the 2020 NFL Draft, rounds 4 through 7. Be interested to see how John Elway, Vic Fangio, and the rest of the front office kind of wrap up this draft. That's it for me. Take care. Peace, guys.